Previously I've reviewed entire seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer in one long video. The problem is that kind of video takes too long to record, make, and edit, so starting with Season 4, there will be individual episode reviews. It will be the same style, talking about characters, themes, references, and a whole heap of spoilers for the remainder of the season, just in little bite-sized chunks. The first episode, The Freshman, was written and directed by Joss Whedon. It picks up a few months after the events of last season, with Sunnydale High being blown up and most of the cast moving on to college. Overall, it's a fine episode, if a little repetitive, with a decent villain, and it serves as a decent jumping off point for a few storylines. Compared to Anne, it comes out far behind, but as an average premiere episode, it works. The episode is largely about changes. Buffy, Willow, and Oz are all starting their new college life, but the focus for now is on Buffy. She's overwhelmed, with emphasis put on the sheer size of the college campus. She is ambushed by people handing out flyers, frat initiations, and contradictory instructions about where to go. It's a relatively accurate picture of how moving to a new school or starting a new job can be like. The problem is the same idea is repeated in every scene for the first 15 or so minutes. After her initial walk across campus, Buffy encounters Willow, who is having the time of her life, in a place that rewards studying and knowledge. Similarly, when they encounter the library, she is the picture of joy, whereas Buffy clearly yearns for something smaller. Next, Buffy forgets how basic human conversation works while she's introduced to Riley, a TA in one of her classes. Willow immediately starts in with nerd talk, and Buffy is reduced to sentences that are barely English. While her introduction to her roommate is not quite as uncomfortable, it's still awkward. Next is the most overblown scene of the episode, where Buffy is thrown out of class for quietly asking her neighbor if the class is full. While some professors are assholes, this is an unnecessary scene that feels unrealistic and is not needed. It merely reinforces themes that have already been pushed extremely hard. The villain of the episode is then introduced, a pack of vampires led by Sunday. They're a decently fun group, making fun of the typical college students, just like high schoolers were satirized in the previous 3 seasons. They've been killing students for years now, and when Buffy needs help investigating them, she goes to Giles. He is, however, in full bachelor mode, trying to keep his distance and live his own life. However, it's quickly shown that he's not made for the sedentary lifestyle, as he ends up buying the magic box this season. In this episode, however, he's trying to balance his own responsibilities versus Buffy's independence, especially since he's not going with her to school. This becomes a central conflict in later seasons, wanting to parent but not baby, although he doesn't always make the right decisions. Buffy feels lost after being rejected by him, and ends up being beaten up by the vampires she was looking for. With a broken arm, she runs back home, but finds her mom has filled up her room with stuff. A lot of this is a very typical college experience, but because it's so compressed, it feels a bit repetitive and dull. The vampires raid her room and steal her stuff, and Buffy ends up at the Bronze where she meets up with Xander. He's similarly a bit lost, having ended his cross-country journey in the same state after his car broke down. Despite this, he offers encouragement to Buffy, cementing himself as the heart of the group. The two head off after the vampires, and Buffy slays them, as she's wont to do. In the end, Giles arrives to help, but it's already been handled. The final scene of the episode depicts one of the survivors of the group running into a group of military men with some kind of stun weapons, which will end up being the main plot of the season. While the episode certainly establishes the main themes of the season, identity, it does so in a clumsy and overwrought way. While we've seen a little bit of Giles' arc and a larger amount of Buffy's, Oz, Willow, and Xander have fallen by the wayside. Riley is introduced and will go on to be a major character, but for now we know very little about him. Overall, the episode is functional, establishing the season, but doing little beyond that. Tune in next time to see if this is a broader trend or merely a blip. Thank you for watching, and be well.